terms of today, kind of wanted to focus the talk on what YPHA is kind of all about. So supporting bringing on young people into the industry. So I'm going to do a quick review of the last year and kind of the newfound interest in gardens and gardening, particularly amongst the younger people. How we might attract them to have careers in horticulture. And also kind of going back a few life stages and looking at how and when career perceptions and aspirations over what people want to do for adult jobs are formed. And then I'm going to talk about some of our recent research on perceptions of careers in horticulture amongst parents. So how rewarding they think careers in the industry would be for their young people. And then kind of, open up to a bit of a discussion, really get everyone involved. And there is a couple of kind of interactive polls throughout the talk. So if you've got a smartphone to hand or kind of device with internet on it, having that to hand would be good in a couple of points throughout. But I'll let you know when you need those, obviously. So over the last 18 months, then it's I think everyone agrees it's kind of been a bit different to usual life. So we've had a kind of period where consumer confidence has been really low. A bit somber, but death has been much more visible in daily life on the news very regularly. We've had unemployment and job insecurity kind of higher than ever before. Travel and overseas holidays and just leisure in general have been reduced. We've had lots of people working from home and also many people out of work altogether. And there's been this fear around kind of congregating, socializing more than usual times. We've also had individual experiences of COVID being very different person to person. So for some people, it's been a time where they've had more leisure time than they've ever had before to take up new hobbies, focus on their mental and physical well-being. Whilst for other people, it's been a time of quite stressful time, whether they've lost jobs or family members as well. As a result of this, really, we've seen anxiety and stress levels higher than ever before. And spending has had to be made with greater caution. So the pressure on the disposable incomes from uncertainty about jobs or losing jobs altogether. And we've also seen job seeking higher than ever with the unemployment. And more leisure time has been spent at home than ever before with the unavailability of holidays and days out. We've had childcare presenting additional challenges. So I'm sure some of you on the call have had to juggle potentially homeschooling with working from home, as well as, spending all your time at home, kind of a new scenario for everyone. And we've also seen charity and voluntary organisations facing kind of income pressures as well, with fundraising events not able to happen, but also kind of regular donators from before not being able to donate if their income's under pressure. And we've seen consumers responding in different ways, but firstly through desire for control over their surroundings, so trying to protect themselves at all costs. We've seen an increase in mindfulness behaviour, so taking up yoga, Pilates, that kind of thing. We've seen a boost in kind of shopping around for the best discounts, a boost in maximising behaviour, and a boost in reconnecting with nature as well, but also bringing nature indoors, trying to create a healthy habitat at home, make it as risk-free as possible to our health. And as such, we've seen an increase in gardening, the craft and revival of the home. So kind of using the garden as an extension of the home when we're spending all of our time there. We also saw kind of reluctance to shop and eat out as a result of that fear of mixing with people. And a fast shift away from cash to online and cashless payments. As well as kind of a focus on vulnerability and also supporting local and the community businesses. So in terms of this increase in gardening, we kind of noted that it was quite prevalent amongst the younger age groups, so potentially those groups that have never had the available leisure time to take it up before, and also the kind of increased awareness of the benefits that spending time outdoors could bring. So in terms of these people, could horticulture be a career option for them? Well, we know that, obviously the mental health, physical health benefits of spending time in the garden have become sort of more widely known in the last year. So 87% of British adults now agree that gardens and green spaces benefit their state of mind. And a further 84% believe it benefits their physical health as well. So for a job seeker, having kind of a job that ticks two of these boxes could be a real benefit and a real factor to sway them towards a job. Environmental awareness has also been on the rise amongst consumers as well, particularly in the news in the last week, also to do with climate change. Greta Thunberg, obviously, big character as well. And we recently did some research basically asking a sample of just over 2,000 British adults how important they believed it was for the automotive industry, fashion retailers, and position this against garden centres and garden brands, how important it is for those three businesses to be environmentally friendly. And the kind of overall story is that everyone thinks it's important for everyone to be environmentally friendly. But we also asked how environmentally friendly do you think each of the current those businesses and industries currently are? And the garden industry is in really good stead here. So 46% of British adults agreeing that the garden industry is currently environmentally friendly. And this compares to 12% automotive and 9% retailers, fashion retailers. So kind of in really good stead here, but obviously with that comes higher expectations and further to fall, greater scrutiny from consumers as well. But potentially for a job seeker, obviously working for a sustainable or environmentally friendly business is likely to be appealing as well. So the recent OHRG report, I don't know, a few of you might have seen it being published, but it revealed that in 2019, 674,000, just over, jobs were supported by the horticulture industry. And the report projected that basically by 2030, this could rise to 763,000 jobs based on a set of favourable outcomes. And these included things like the extent, quality of green spaces that were available to people, the fact that biosecurity was safeguarded, forecasted participation in gardening based on cultural and demographic changes predicted across that time frame, but also access to labour and skills for businesses. So whilst automation has got obviously the option to drive business growth and improve efficiency, it kind of relies on a much wider and broader skill set than potentially anyone's kind of seen before. So there's a greater focus really on supervisory management skills. Environmental awareness is more important to have in your skill set now, but also functional and digital skills, as well as just simply horticultural skills. So the report also summarised as well that the industry is currently facing a labour shortage estimated at £1.4 billion per year in GDP contributions by 2030. So quite a significant kind of shortfall that's limiting the industry's opportunity to growth, really. So just rewinding a few stages, really, to look at how perceptions of careers and career aspirations are formed. Came across an interesting study by Deloitte. It's called Drawing the Future. So they basically ran this with 13,000 7 to 11-year-old primary school pupils. And they asked the pupils to draw what they wanted to be when they grew up. The idea being that asking kids to draw something is helping them to tell a better story than they might be able to tell with words. And then it also asked them where they'd got this idea for the career from, if they knew someone with that career that they'd based it on. And overwhelmingly, the most popular career that everyone wanted to have was to be a sports person. So 21.3% of these kids drew themselves as a sports person when they grew up. The second was a teacher, and third was a vet. But there were also some differences in gender as well. So I've put the top 10 for girls and boys here, but the overall theme really is that girls tended to aspire to have careers that involved helping people or animals, kind of caring, more nurturing roles. So here we've got teachers, vets, doctors, scientists, nurses, compared to boys who kind of had a preference for more physical hands-on roles. So police, firefighter, engineers, something that was more hands-on. And these kind of aspirations also were linked to subject choices as well. So girls tended to prefer creative subjects like English and art, whereas boys tended to prefer things like PE and maths that were more hands-on and physical, really. They also found there was socioeconomic differences as well. So in areas where more than 20% of children were entitled to free school meals, so indicating that it's a lower income area, they were less ambitious with their aspirations. So they were more likely to suggest that they wanted to take up vocational roles, such as being a mechanic or beauty therapist. And kind of less ambitious, they were less likely to say that they wanted to be doctors and scientists as well. So kind of suggesting that the area that they're living is also limiting how they see themselves in the future as well. And the study was also repeated with 15 to 16-year-olds. And it kind of raised a few issues about the information that children are given about the jobs that are available to them when they finish education. So there's kind of a real mismatch between the proportion of people that say they want a job in a certain area compared to the actual number of jobs that there are available and that the country needs. So kind of like a managing expectations issue, really. So I've highlighted a few areas here that are oversubscribed. So we've got health professionals, protective services, science research, engineering professionals. So these are areas where more children are wanting to go into careers and there are actually jobs available. And quite strikingly, culture, media and sports professions, 42% of kids that were sampled wanted to go into only 2.4% of jobs that were available. So kind of a real mismatch here over the information that children are being given before they leave education about the job opportunities that are available to them. And these things are important because these aspirations also inform their subject choices and the choices that they make in terms of going to college and what they want to go into. But then to not potentially be able to actually get a job at the end of it is quite important. Flipping this round, there's also areas that are undersubscribed. So there is fewer people wanting to do the jobs than there are actually needed by the country. So these tend to involve administration. We've got carer roles here, corporate managers, directors, sales, and then quite a topical one here, transport and mobile machine drivers and operatives. So I think we've all seen that in the recent weeks. So as I mentioned, the children were also asked where they got these ideas from for the job that they drew in the study. And majority of children said that they didn't know anyone who did the job they drew. So 61% said they didn't know anyone who did the job that they aspired to do. In actual fact, these ideas primarily came from TV, film, radio, personal encounters. So this is kind of, I saw a bus driver on my route to school kind of thing. YouTube, books are kind of like the most popular sources. So almost fictional sources about where they're getting ideas from for what they want to be when they're older. Of those who did know someone, the major influences really are extended family, parents, guardians, and teachers were the biggest influence over children wanting to be teachers when they grew up. But interestingly, with teachers, availability of relatable role models came up. So girls were 9 times more likely to indicate they wanted to be a teacher than boys. And in actual fact, only 1 in 7 primary school teachers are male. So kind of less available role models for boys to relate to in terms of teaching. We also just ran some recent research with a sample of UK adults who are parents of children aged under 18. So these people that are going to be making decisions about what career they go into. Basically, we asked them, to what extent do you think that the garden industry offers rewarding careers for young people to go into? And overall, 1 in 3 British adults agreed that the garden industry offers rewarding careers for young people to go into. There were no real differences in gender amongst the people that we asked, but we found that the the proportion of people rating the garden industry as rewarding for young people to go into actually increased with age of the parent. So kind of consistent with when we expect people to get into gardening. So the older tend to have more disposable income, more leisure time. So we see that obviously gardening is more of an older hobby. Interestingly though, majority of the young parents, so the 25 to 34-year-old parents, 44% of them said that they didn't know whether the garden industry offered rewarding careers. So kind of suggesting there's like a lack of awareness, lack of information out there about what the industry can offer. So as well as that rating, we also asked what the reasons were for that rating. So I've kind of included the key themes here in perceptions. So the most frequently mentioned perception was around low pay. So this was placed in context of low pay relative to hard work, the hours, other job options available, but kind of set in the context of, but it's a nice job. 14%, the perception there of lack of opportunities in career progression, but also information or awareness about those opportunities. On a more positive note, the perception here on a good option for a youngster to get a job. So these centered around not being in front of a computer screen. They'd seen other young people with jobs and enjoying them. This is followed by perception of a good career, variety of roles and development opportunities. So kind of split across those two. Perception of lots of learning opportunity. As the perception of personal interest in gardening, as opposed to it being a career or something that they might do for a salary. But if they're really into gardening and spending time outdoors, then that perception is there. As the perception that there's good practical experience and skills to take home in general life as well, kind of applicable and a good life skills to have. And the perception over it being a good and healthy environment working outdoors and with nature as well. And here we've got a mention as well of a sense of satisfaction with results. So kind of that mental health aspect as well. And then finally, the 2%, so this was a sample of nearly 300, but the secondary career not permanent. So it was kind of seen as, for young people, it might be a weekend job, but potentially not a career. So kind of interesting to see what those perceptions are of people outside of the industry in terms of what they think might be beneficial or not for their children.